the show today. We are talking about basketball play styles and just terminology in general. These are things like plays or things that you call a guy that does a particular thing on the court, or just things that happen on the court. I feel like the thing I know the least about the NBA is basketball itself, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to educate myself as much as I educate you. Let's start with not necessarily the most basic, but the most important term to know. Pick and roll offense. This is the most popular play in the NBA. This is when the center, typically the strongest, biggest guy on the court, sets a pick for the point guard. And when the defending point guard hits the center rolls off the point guard toward the hoop, shielding him out of the play, leaving the defense with a 2-on-1 situation. The point guard then makes the decision whether he wants to take it to the hoop or pass it to the rolling center. Usually this will create a mismatch as well. Sometimes the big man gets stuck on the point guard and the point guard is way faster and can take it to the hoop. If there is a player that is particularly bad at defense, the other team will exploit that with a pick and roll by forcing a switch with that screen. The bad defender is left on a guy who can penetrate. Ultimately, a pick and roll will shut one player out of the defensive possession, leaving a 4-on-5 situation. If you're looking for a great example of pick and roll offense, look at Steven Adams' highlights. It's his bread and butter. He sets a hard screen and then he rolls to the basket. Typically, he's switched onto a smaller player and has no trouble getting to the rack. And that is why the majority of NBA players say he's the strongest player in the league, because they've been hit by a Steven Adams screen, and it really hurts. The other variation of the pick and roll is the pick and pop. It's the exact same as the pick and roll, but instead of rolling to the hoop, you roll to outside the three-point line, and the center is wide open for a shot. The thing is, the pick and pop only works with a stretch 5, also known as a center that can shoot three-pointers. You're gonna see guys like Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, maybe Jokic or Miles Turner being involved in the pick and pop. But what makes a player a 5 or a center? I'm sure you've all heard of positionless basketball, but it seems that the center position is always definitive. No matter who's on the court, there's always one player that's designated as the center. Now, typically there really isn't a center on offense. The only way you can spot a center is by the pick and roll. It used to be the tallest player on the team would post up down low, back a guy down, and try to get a power layup. Turns out this is a very inefficient shot. No one does it anymore because it sucks. Also, you can't be in the paint for more than 3 seconds on offense or defense. So if you're a center, your main responsibility is on defense, and that is protecting the rim. You're there to get rebounds and block easy buckets. A guy like Rudy Gobert has made his career by being a prototypical defensive center, possibly the greatest of all time, post body checking era, of course. Next is a rim runner. This is a big guy that can get down the court quickly. Think of a young DeAndre Jordan or Blake Griffin, or now Obi Toppin, maybe Miles Bridges, maybe Aaron Gordon. These guys are all very fast, they can jump high, but they don't really have plays run for them very much. But at any point in time, they can cut to the rim for a lob pass, which is helpful for our next term, downhill offense. Downhill offense is a team that likes to get out in transition. After they get the ball back, whether it's a rebound or passing it inbounds, they get down the court really quickly, trying to penetrate the defense. Players like Ben Simmons, De'Aaron Fox, Ja Morant are all known for this. Ideally, you're trying to catch the other team slipping or being lazy, jogging their way back to their defensive position. The alternative to downhill offense is half-court offense. Half-court offense is good for teams that know how to run plays. Typically, a half-court offense starts with the point guard at the top of the key calling a play, like a pick and roll, or initiating a motion offense. A motion offense is just a dynamic sequence that the whole team understands. It continuously runs until there's a shot, a foul, or a turnover. The Golden State Warriors are a team that historically excels at half-court offense. They know how to run plays. They can work the ball around the court trying to get an open man with a clean look. Another play style you may have heard of is iso ball. This is when you give the ball to a player who can drive the lane or shoot threes. The rest of the team clears out and gives the guy space in the paint. Then he takes it to the rim for an easy field goal, or he dishes it out if the team collapses on it. Or if you're James Harden in 2017, you fake going to the paint and then do a step back 3. Or if you're current day Luka Doncic, he loves that stuff too. The next type of player you may have heard of is a 3-and-D guy. And he's exactly what he sounds like. He can shoot threes and he can play defense. He's typically a wing player, so a shooting guard or a small forward. People talk about 3-and-D guys being the most coveted player in the NBA by general managers, because they don't need the ball in their hands to provide value. All they have to do is get open, catch the ball, and shoot their shot. So this is a problem the Clippers are facing right now. They have 4 players who have traditionally been ball-dominant stars. They don't really know what to do if they don't have control of the offense. Some examples of 3-and-D guys are Dorian Finney-Smith, Derek White, OG Anunoby. Every team can use more defense and better three-point shooting. So what is the dunker spot? The dunker spot is the space outside the lane and close to the baseline. Remember, you can't camp in the paint, so the players that can't shoot typically camp out outside the paint. They wait for someone to cut to the rim, create space, and then they're available for an easy field goal. Rudy Gobert was the king of the dunker spot when he was playing with Donovan Mitchell, because Rudy didn't have a jumper and Mitchell could get into the paint easy. Lastly, I want to cover a couple plays aside from the pick and roll, like a dribble handoff. The dribble handoff works like the pick and roll, but the screener has the ball. So it's technically an off-ball screen. As the target player runs around the screener hands the ball off to the target player. Then the guy that just passed it is now a screen. Next we have cutters. Cutters are a little bit different than rim runners because they'll cut into the lane if a guy is playing too close to them on the outside and he's not on his toes. This will leave the defender outside the three-point line in an open lane to the basket. Think a guy like Steph Curry or a young Klay Thompson. Lastly, we have the spot-up shooter, which involves an off-ball screen or maybe just a cut to get a guy to his sweet spot who can shoot the three. They usually shoot a shot we call a catch and shoot, which is just what it sounds like. They catch the ball, they release it immediately. If you want to watch an example of this, watch almost any Duncan Robinson scoring play. Just about all of them are spot-up plays. Alright, thanks for being here. It's entirely possible that I got something wrong. This is what I believe all those things mean, so please reply. I always respond to everything. Like or dislike this video, I don't really care. I appreciate you watching it. Be good to your mammies. Eat a corn dog.